What's up, everybody? Welcome to the BTW Podcast, Beers, Toys, Wrasslin. We're on week number 16, I think? 16, 17? I don't know. We're getting up there in episodes. I dig it. So we got a short cast today because we're down Dustin. He's in Florida, vacation with his family. So with me, I have Lance Johnson.
Hello.
And Wade Fry.
Hello as well, but even better.
Ooh, no, you can't do a better hello than I do.
All right. Yeah, I don't know about that. All right, guys. So, all right, guys. So, how's the week been treating you, Lance?
Pretty good. It was wonderfully nice and productive at work. Coming up on the short week. It was a little hectic in a couple of places, but yeah, everything worked out. I got to find out how to find where my septic system is. I unfortunately couldn't dig up the access point for the septic people because I couldn't find it in time, but it's all part of that new home ownership thing because I haven't done that before, and that's I wasn't gonna rip up my whole yard to search for my septic, so I just did the smart thing, sent an email to the state to request the records, and now I'm just waiting 2 to 3 weeks.
All right. Wade, how about yourself? How's it been going?
Oh, all right, I guess. Got the kid in a summer day camp. Still just working. I mean, it's like anywhere between like 80 and 90 degrees here every day, and it's not even July or August yet. So, yeah, looking forward to the short week coming up. So, nothing crazy.
All right, it's good to hear. Same, nothing insane going on here. For Friday was my birthday, so just had a nice quiet dinner with the family and a couple of friends, and that's
Some bears.
Some bears.
Some bears, yeah. Well, if you want to call Kurt a bear.
He's kind of close.
Yeah, a little bit. But yeah. Low-key, got to see the niece a couple of times. We're back in full swing with her being back at the house twice a week because now her parents are less paranoid about being in quarantine, and are less paranoid about being in quarantine, and it's all been good.
Get anything good for your birthday?
Say again?
Did you get anything good for your birthday?
I didn't actually get anything yet. Just a bunch of pre-orders. I'll go over it when it's my turn. And yeah, so that's it. Is everybody drinking tonight?
I have water flavored with lemonade Mio.
Ooh. I got a Dr. Pepper.
You got a Dr. Pepper?
Yeah.
All right. I'm just trying out a new bourbon that I got. This Rittenhouse. It's a bonded rye. And I thought this was interesting. So bottled and bond is a certain type of whiskey. It has to fall under this Bottled in Bond Act of 1897. Looking this up so I get this right. Big a long story short, in order to fall within those guidelines, it must be the product of one distillation season by one distiller at one distillery. So it's not like some other whiskeys and bourbons where they can buy the mash elsewhere and then, distill it at their facility. They have to do everything there. And I'll tell you, it's really, really smooth. For 100 proof, it's really good. So I just tried it on its own, and it's nice, and threw a little bit of it in my Coke Zero, and it's very nice.
I think my favorite part about this particular segment of the show is you can tell what day of the week it is by what the three married guys with kids are drinking versus what Nate is drinking. Right? Because right now we're recording on a Sunday. Wade and I are just like, no, we're dry again because it's a weeknight. And Nate's like, yeah, no, I'm just drinking alcohol, bro.
That's half the reason I started this podcast.
It's a third of the reason you started.
Third of the reason why I started this podcast.
But you don't even talk about beer, so I want to hear
it. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. Leave it up to you guys. Where do you want to start? You want to hit some Wrasslin? Do you want to hit some toys?
Let's hit some toys. I feel like Wrassling's going to go on for a while, although toys probably is too, because we got a lot of stuff from Hasbro. Not all of it good, but it was definitely stuff.
How dare you?
I know.
So as far as the what we got this week segment, I'll kick off with that because I didn't actually get anything new this week, but I was gifted a slew of pre-orders. Because I put together a list on Amazon, just what I wanted. So I have coming between the months of July, September, and November, I think. I have the new RC coming. I have what was it? Fast Track? Who's with Scorponok?
Yeah, Fast Track.
Sounds.
I have Snapdragon, Quintesson, and what's the other? Another Voyager. Brain is not functioning. Take 2 sips of that whiskey and I'm done. Oh, sorry, not another Voyager. Double Dealer. And then Skylynx and Scorponok. So really good haul I'll have over the next few months. And that was the birthday. And I'm very, very excited to getting all that stuff in. So that's it for me.
Well, that's a lot. It's hard to beat.
That is quite a bit. I ended up this week for actual things that I got in. I got Hex Wrench, which is the Iron Factory Wheeljack. Wonderful little figure, great little figure. The only downside is mine came with, without 2 out of the 3 sets of hands. So it comes with interchangeable fists, like a lot of stuff does nowadays. But they have the closed fists, and they have the fists for the weapons, which are 3mm pegs, if I remember correctly. Might be 5mm pegs. And then they had just like this one set of hands where the fingers are open and everything's like spread out. unfortunately, I only have the close-fisted hands. So I ended up now getting that figure for free because BBTS couldn't find any spare parts around the factory or around the warehouse, so they just refunded me the cost of the item. So that's not bad. It's a great figure, especially to get for free. And then I also got the 1992 G.I. Joe headquarters.
Oh shit!
Yeah, one of Nate and I's mutual friends is picked up a ton of toys from his dad's house that had just been sitting there, and he wanted to go through all of them. And I went over there for about 5 hours, and I could pretty much pick whatever I wanted. And I've wanted a G.I. Joe headquarters forever and a day, and I said, you know what? That's complete. I am gonna go ahead and take that.
This is mine now.
Yeah. And I'm very happy to have it. My wife, came home because I just got home probably, what time is it? 8:46. So I got home about an hour ago, and my wife looked at me and she's like, "Where are you gonna put that?" And I looked at her. I said, "Where are you gonna put more horses?" She's like, "All right." Can't argue with one.
That's why you put it in the horse room and decorate it with horses. Like, will they watch the base? I don't know.
I don't think I'd do that. I think I would get in trouble. Like, that's like the one thing that she would, like, if I put anything in there, and I have put something in there before, she generally doesn't appreciate it. So I try to keep most of my stuff out there. I did have this one, so when I was customizing some of my boss fight figures, I ended up with these random extra pieces. And I think I sent a picture to you guys before, but I created a character that I call Trevor Knightley Medieval Stripper. And I just posed him in her horse room, and he was there for like 3 months before she noticed. And she only noticed because I said something about it. So it was fantastic. He was just like hanging out in her horse room for like 3 months without her even like noticing. But
Yeah,
that is it for me. Oh, sorry.
So one thing you may want to consider, Lance, Iron Factory has some of the best customer service out there for these third-party companies. I don't know from firsthand experience, but I've heard a lot of stories. Even if you didn't purchase the figure directly from a retailer, more often than not, you can contact them directly, and they may have pieces for it. I don't know how old this Wheeljack figure is from them. So, but it's definitely worth a shot. Getting in touch with them.
I thought about it, and I'm not super concerned because A, it's Iron Factory, so it's a Legends class figure, right? B, the downside would be, okay, where does the gun go in robot mode? Well, because of the way he transforms, his forearms have a slot that happens. So when he goes into car mode, the gun slots into his back, and his forearms peg into the side. So the peg that's on the gun for it to go into the back happens to be the same size peg that they use to peg the forearms into the body. So I literally just pegged the gun on the side of the forearm, and I'm like, I'm good.
Okay, right.
So, I mean, again, at this point, I basically got him for free, and he's an awesome figure. I thought about getting the Iron Factory Megatron. He's about double the price, but, I mean, you get 4 different versions of Megatron in one if you want them, because you get the IDW Megatron, you get, well, the IDW Minor Megatron, the IDW Gladiator Megatron, the G1 Megatron, and then I think it's the War Within Megatron.
Yeah, I think we had talked about this.
Yeah.
What's the other company? I don't know that it's Make Toys. It's like the Tyrant, I think is the name of the figure. And yeah, they do the exact same gimmick. You can make
Well,
4
Tyrant
versions.
is the Iron Factory one, but yeah.
Okay, yeah. There is a larger third-party version out there that does the exact same thing.
Yep. And it's wicked cool. So I may get that. I may not get that. I thought about taking a look at their Optimus Prime. Their Optimus Prime was based on War Within Optimus Prime, but he's A, old, and B, very expensive at this point. So I was like, no, I'm good. Because he's not just the trailer or the cab. He comes with the trailer too and Apex armor. So
Yeah.
he's a bit pricey at this point.
And they used if you're ever looking to get that mold at least last time I looked, it was a little cheaper. They used that mold to make their Nova Prime.
Yeah.
And which I think is a more imposing looking figure. I mean those splayed out wings.
Yeah.
Super badass.
The other thing that you got to ask is how far. Like I got Wheeljack because I like the character.
Mm-hmm.
But like, how far down that Iron Factory rabbit hole do I want to go? Like, do I want to go to the point where I can have an entire army of Legends class and it'll look better scale-wise with my city bots when I get Scorponok and I display them all?
I think you just answered your own question there.
That's no. I don't want to do that. Is the point? Like that's more money that I don't need to spend right now. But no, I thought about. What was the other one I was thinking about? There's War Giant Catastrophe, which is basically their version of Baldingus / Ruination. And he's just fantastic looking, but I don't think I'll go down quite that route quite yet.
All right. Wade, how about yourself?
Well, I got my birthday gift from my parents early. I got to open up a Hulkbuster 1/6 scale hot toy, size of a toddler.
I was just about to say, I saw you carrying around your iron toddler.
He's about 2 feet tall, about 25 pounds. It's funny because my stepdad, he definitely enjoys buying gifts. It's one of his little pleasures in life. And he's like, well, let's open it. So we're outside, and they got this big picnic table. So I start getting it out. It starts raining, and it's funny while they're watching me panic. Like I had it all spread out, putting the pieces together. And it starts just a drip, a couple drips. Now I'm just throwing stuff into underneath the. There's a little porch on the side of the barn, and I'm throwing stuff underneath the porch. What are you doing? It's raining. But it's pretty awesome. I mean, this just in awe of it. A lot of the 1/6 scale Iron Man I have are cool, but this thing is just a whole nother level. I get where some people say it's kind of a statue, but it's fully articulate. It's got lights. It's got, the chest opens up and the head comes out. And if you bought the Iron Man figure from the Avengers Age of Ultron movie, it goes in there, but it comes with a bust, like a head and shoulders and a chest that you can just slot in there, and it looks like it.
Yeah.
I just find it's sitting on my kitchen table right now. And I just find myself sitting at my kitchen table, just kind of like futzing with the fingers, or you know what I mean? Not doing anything crazy, just touching it.
Yeah. It's pretty.
Yeah. But past that, I don't think I've got anything else this week. I've looked, but I've not picked anything up.
All right. So should we move into the Fan First Friday stuff?
Oh yes, let's.
All right. Let's Let's start with the G.I. Joe stuff, because I feel like that's far. Not that either things are overly impressive, but I feel like G.I. Joe is less impressive because it basically all got spoiled before.
Okay. Pimp Daddy Destro is amazing.
Yep.
Can we lead with that? Can that be the whole thing? Pimp Daddy Destro is amazing.
Yes.
I want to know the mission he's at, because the guy said that these guys are dressed for the mission they're on. Like, I want to know what mission Destro's on, that he has to dress like that.
Colombian drug lord.
Right. I'm saying, like, can I get a comic? Maybe just maybe a YouTube webisode to show me what Destro's like. All right, I need to go get ready for this mission. And they're like, is that a leopard cape? Why is your armor gold? And he's like, shut up, you wouldn't understand.
Destro Miami Vice. There we go.
Profit Director Destro is the official name, but still, I think,
Pimp Daddy Destro.
Yeah, I mean, the initials line up.
Yep. Other than that, I thought the Cobra Commanders, they didn't really hit the spot for me per se, and I think it's because he had the long petticoat. But they had two versions of Cobra Commander, and then who was the other one? Gung Ho.
Mm-hmm.
And then was there anything else other than that?
The Red Ninja and the Blizzard Storm Shadow.
Oh, the Storm Shadow looked cool because he was the version 2, version 3, the 1992 version of Storm Shadow that I had as a kid.
Another one dressed for the guy's like, he's dressed for the mission. It's Blizzard, I think it's like Blizzard Attack or something like that.
Yeah. And I forgot about the Red Ninjas because I'm not gonna army build 6-inch figures.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, and I probably am. In our chat with Dacre, wasn't he saying there was some kind of essentially bait and switch with the Cobra Commander figures? Even though they have the two versions, like isn't one like regular retail and one isn't, and they were teasing like a regular retail, which was the other one?
Yeah, so the gold one, the Regal one was, I believe that's going to be a Hasbro exclusive.
Okay.
Then the other one, the one that doesn't have the gold, that's just kind of like the regular blue and black cartoon colors. I think that's the one that's the retail one.
Are you talking about that app that people were trying to get everyone to download that had the Cobra Commander exclusive?
Yes, that was it. I couldn't.
Then, like 5 minutes before they released the pre-order or whatever, they changed the pictures all over to the OG Cobra Commander.
That's it. That was it. Yeah. I'm not much of a GI Joe guy, but another one of our mutual friends, he was just livid with that whole situation, which I completely understand.
Well, I mean, that's when like a thing seems to pop up overnight, promising you the world. You know what I mean? Like, if you were a legit contender in that world, you'd be starting to advertise that weeks beforehand to get people to download the app, sign up, do all that stuff, and be ready for it. Not like 2 days before or whatever.
Another thing to kind of mention about G.I. Joe, and this isn't Hasbro, we were linked to a video of this Action Force Sergeant Slaughter. Has anyone else seen this?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that.
You know what? I think it looks really good, and I think whether you're a G.I. Joe or wrestling fan, I think it's just really cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It's not quite my cup of tea, I don't think. Yeah, it looks a little bit too stylized, but yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Somebody asked in the Q&A in the G.I. Joe portion, they're like, are you going to do vehicles? And the guy's like, well, that's something we're considering for the future. But, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, like, I feel like G.I. Joe was more of a vehicle-oriented toy line that happened to have figures. Do you know what I mean? Like,
definitely the Real American Hero line. But if you're kind of going back to when it first came out in the 50s.
Not the 50s. No, I'm talking about like the 80s when we were kids.
The Real American Hero line.
I think that the biggest thing that they were able to do then, because they had scaled down from the 12-inch to the 3 3/4 to match Star Wars, is you have to remember G.I. Joe, when it was relaunched specifically so that way Hasbro had something that could contend with Star Wars and Kenner, right? So that's why they were all 3 3/4 scale. They added articulation. They made them cheaper than the Star Wars figures. And then because Star Wars had vehicles, G.I. Joe had to have vehicles. So the entire thing was actually just driven by the fact that they were trying to compete with Star Wars.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
just was funny when the guy's like, we might consider vehicles in the future. Like, not even tongue in cheek, like legit saying that. You're like, nah, bro. Like, I feel like vehicles were what were everybody's nostalgia. Like, everybody, that was their thing. You know, everyone talks about the USS Flag or the big space shuttle and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't about like the figures and the vehicles were secondhand.
Yeah, that's how I've always felt. I've always been a bigger fan of the vehicles. When I go and get something now, it's specifically I don't go out and I don't look for characters from G.I. Joe. I look for vehicles from G.I. Joe. You know, whether it's the Havoc, the Night Raven, or hell, the 92 headquarters that I just got. I'm always generally more focused on getting the vehicles from G.I. Joe than anything else.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know, it's sometimes, I know I sort of forget, but you know, you talk about G.I. Joe competing with Star Wars. You know, at that point, Hasbro hadn't bought Kenner yet, so yeah, they were, you know,
Yeah.
yes, now it's all under one umbrella, but yeah, those two
Yeah.
used to be neck and neck.
The whole reason G.I. Joe got downscaled and relaunched was because of Star Wars. It was directly done to compete with Star Wars. I think they did that. They said that in the Toys That Made Us, the G.I. Joe episode.
Yes. Yep. All right. So I guess we'll move on to the Transformers side of things. And again, nothing stellar was really launched during this. There's some cool stuff. So Wade, I'm gonna let you spearhead this one because you were the one really keeping track of everything in the group chats and whatnot.
Yeah, I was at work. I was kind of on a break, so I happened to have the thing pulled open, and I was watching the live chat, just taking screenshots as I was doing it, and like, you know, repaints, blah blah blah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't feel like that there was anything, and I get it from a money perspective. They have to. They absolutely have to, you know, get whatever they can out of a mold. But I was more impressed that by listening to the people, they put out this accessory set, and kudos to you if you got on it early, because it was like $20 for the first hour. Then they realized their mess up. They changed over to 30.
I don't think they actually realized the quote unquote mess up. I think they did that intentionally.
You think so?
Yeah, I think that sounded. Yeah, I think that sounded like an intentional thing. Like try to get all the Pulse members in.
Yeah. So if you look at it, right, it started at 20, and then it went up to 30. Now I bought it when it was at 30, so I missed out on the 20 because I was busy. But when I was going through the checkout, it had it still had it discounted by $10 because it said that the original price for it was going to be 40. Right now it's still only 30, so I don't know if that was intentional or not, but yeah, it definitely was discounted by $10 when I bought it. So they said that it was going to be quote unquote 40. But yeah, I definitely got that. I was super happy to get it because that brunt, to me anyway, looked like a Cylon, which goes with the Tetrajet the Viper-looking Tetrajets, and that's just fantastic.
Now, so I'm looking at the picture of this accessory set, and I'm actually just noticing a little reflector now. I didn't notice that my first glance.
Yep.
Obviously, a Soundwave, a pistol, like movie pistol for Megatron. The like the drill-looking cannon and the 3 handguns there. Do we know who those go to?
The drill is Ironhide's.
The list.
Oh, okay.
From the listing, this is the list of what's in it.
Oh, okay, so the Energon Mace and I got it's by Bumblebee, Ironhide. Huh. Okay. Oh, radar dishes by Trailbreaker. I figured that was for like the drone in Prime. Okay, for Ravage, I assume that's supposed to go with your Classics Ravage.
The cage? Well, they have a Siege Ravage, right? So it might be scaled for that.
Oh yeah. I totally forgot that Ravage did come out. I have him tucked away in my Soundwave chest just because he's not very good looking.
He's so thick.
Yeah. 3 C's. Okay. I mean, look, like you said, Wade, great for anyone who got this at 20, but I definitely think that's worth 30.
I mean, but it's almost like it's funny, like it's like almost like a backhanded compliment that they're like, we know you want all this, but we're not going to include it with the figures.
Well, yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, like Optimus has a version of his Iron Blaster. Does he have Roller? No. But to be honest, with the size of that trailer that they gave us with Earthrise, Roller's not fitting under. Like you can't pack Roller under that fold up radar station / repair bay thing.
Mm.
It's just too small. There's not enough room. So Roller just hangs out in the trailer anyway.
And yeah, so I watch a lot of Bobby Skullface's discussion videos. His reviews are kind of pointless for me. He either reviews stuff I'm not overly into, or he's so overly picky about some stuff. But his discussion videos I really enjoy, and one that was last week, maybe week before last, but he was talking about how Hasbro is beginning to close the gap in the third party and the MP stuff in this Siege Earthrise thing, and I definitely think that Hasbro's taking cues from that with this accessory pack, because who's been doing that for the past 10 years? Third party. And Hasbro's not dumb. They see people lapping this stuff up.
That's right. Why we got Combiner Wars.
Yeah. So yeah, I think they're just going, okay, well, they're spending all their money here. Why don't we have them spend their money with us?
Yeah, which makes all the sense in the world. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to buy this entire thing for 30, and I know some people don't like the Brunt repaint, and that's fine. I mean, everybody's different. I personally happen to love it because it's flat out Cylon, and when I looked at Brunt's head, I was like, that's a Cylon. So,
and if I can't find a Iron Factory manacle for a decent price, I think that drone may just become my slammer.
Yeah, you could do that too.
Because that's the only thing we're missing to really, really complete that Metroplex.
Yeah, that's 100% true.
So yeah, but everything else in there, the Tiger Tracks repaint, meh. The Rotor Storm from from Spinister, that was I thought that was a little out of left field, but it doesn't look horrible. That's definitely not my thing.
Now, what about these red figures? Like,
Yes, that's another thing
Oh,
we got to talk about.
yeah. Let's go in on that.
Yeah.
Like,
So, I'm going to kick this one off. So there is a quintessential debate, as you all know, in this fandom about how Transformers figures must transform. I think that's kind of dumb. I understand it. I understand where some people are coming from. And again, I harken back to actually the most recent Bobby Skullface discussion video, which was, Transformers is a noun, not a verb. They are characters. And I have a couple of, I have all the old Revoltech Transformers.
okay.
Absolutely love them. In fact, my Megatron is sitting in my Dark Horse Game of Thrones Iron Throne statue. I love being able to do stuff like that. So I am all on board for this. And as he and other people have pointed out, in the action figure realm, Hasbro's kind of been killing it lately. Their Black Series stuff has been great. Their Marvel Legends has been great. Some stuff that raises concerns with me looking at the initial product shots of at least Prime and Megatron is they look like they're not going to have much leg articulation. It looks like they're going to be very limited in that hip, where hip skirts would be on the robot. It looks like none of that moves. So that's the only thing that I'm concerned about, that would really limit any great dynamic posing with them.
I'm looking at the picture of Soundwave, and it looks like that his legs connect underneath where hip skirts would be.
Yeah, I just question how that joint works and how far forward and out it's going to be able to move.
Right. If they put like a mechanism where it lowers a little bit when you got to go out.
Yeah, almost like a SH Figure Arts type joint that can shift down some.
I'm excited in general just to maybe get my hands on a Prime and a Megatron. I mean, I guess but it's the pendulum swing. It's going back the other way because, like, while third-party Transformers are cool, I think what a lot of people are getting burnt out on is these, like, uber complex, like the new Masterpiece Optimus Prime.
Mm-hmm.
This, like, you got to sit down at your kitchen table and you're going to spend about 2 hours futzing with it.
Yeah.
And like, you got all these little tiny arms and clips and stuff that could break off at any moment. So this is like the pendulum swing back the other way, where people are just getting sick of having you want a really good looking Optimus Prime. You're going to get, okay, it transforms, but it's never going to be in truck mode in your shelf.
Yeah.
You're going to transform it once, maybe twice, and you're like, that ain't worth it. I'm not going to. So Hasbro's going to go, okay, well, we're going to make a really good line of Transformer action figures. It's the counterpoint to I'm sick and tired of spending forever transforming these things.
Yep. Yeah. I wholeheartedly agree. As much as I love IT-01, that's how it is. I mean, it's not, after you do it a couple of times, it's not that difficult. But yeah, it's robot mode, and it'll stay like that until I remember to bring it to Lance's so I can show him it. But yeah, I agree. And Lance, how about yourself? Where do you lie in this whole argument?
I am fully in the camp of if it's a Transformer, it should transform. That's part of the allure of the figure for me. do they look like they're going to be good action figures based on what Hasbro has done? Yeah, they look like they're going to be good action figures, but for me, part of it is having that transformation. On top of that, they look very, very G1 cartoon style, which means a lot of that detail that you get in some of the newer figures, like Earthrise Prime, for example, ends up getting lost in that G1 cartoon simplified kind of mode, or not mode, but motif.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'll wait and see. I may get one. I may not. I may wait until I see somebody else's. But yeah, I don't think I'm gonna dive down that rabbit hole. And I'll use the example of Action Masters, right? Action Masters were Transformers that don't transform.
Mm-hmm.
By and large, despite them having more articulation than your normal Transformers and maybe some cooler color schemes and designs, by and large, they're not really that popular. And the reason is because they're Transformers that they don't transform. So, I don't know. Anything that harkens back to Action Masters for me just leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
No, but Action Masters also, they came with the gimmick where like the weapon transformed and stuff, right? You have,
yeah,
like,
the weapon transformed a little bit, and you did have some of the ones with vehicles, but this isn't what we're talking about right now. Isn't that what we're talking about right now? Is just the Action Master with updated articulation, and here we give you a weapon or two and maybe some interchangeable hands.
Well, I would also say though that, like, as a parent, like if I wasn't into Transformers but my kid was, and he just kept bringing me stuff to flip back and forth, it would probably just be nice for him to have an Optimus Prime.
Yeah, from a general parent perspective, I can see it. Me, I don't care because obviously I'm into Transformers. So when my son has an issue with it, I'm more than happy to help, or I tell him to figure it out on his own, and he figures it out on his own.
Right.
I still, I don't know. I'm not saying that they're bad figures this time around. But to me, it's just Action Masters 2.0. And I don't know that I'm incredibly invested in that.
Right.
It's one of those things that I'm maybe a little too conservative on it, but again, like I said, I'll probably pick up at least one and check it out and see what it's like, and if I can have a 6-inch Optimus Prime scale off against, I don't know, my Magneto that I have, there we go. That just could be random and fun.
Right, you're like, I'm in.
Yeah.
Stop drilling, you've hit oil.
Yeah, you just end up with this 3-way battle between, I don't know, Magneto, Darth Vader, and Megatron. Why not? There we go. That could be fun.
So Magneto can control the other two, so he wins.
Pretty much, yeah.
Well, you're made of metal, and your respirator now stops working. Good luck, everybody.
See? That's why Magneto is the best. But yeah, I don't know. I just it's still a very off thing for me. What else did we get from Hasbro this week? Did we get anything else from Hasbro this week after RAD?
Well, one thing I forgot to mention, didn't we get actual pictures of an Earthrise Soundwave in that, or was that red line Soundwave that we saw?
I think that was we saw official pictures of Redline Soundwave. We saw some leaks of Dirge, and then the leaks of Earthrise Soundwave were a couple of weeks ago when they had the leaks of Earthrise Thrust and Cyclonus.
Right. And did we ever really go into that at all?
I don't think we did. Not heavily.
Yeah. Because you and I had a pretty good discussion about this last time I was up, and that was, how far do we want to go back into this when we're just getting kind of upscaled versions of the classics figures that we already own?
Right.
Yeah. And I thought this was a good topic. Well, long and short of it, I enjoy the figures so much that we got from the classics that getting a slightly improved, upscaled version of it, I'm not mad at, and I'll probably go pretty deep with it. And Lance, you give your side on that.
Yeah, I think at this point, because one of the things that I got to do with the classics, because they were at that lower $15 price point or whatever it was at the time, is I got to army build with them. So I was able to get not only the 6 Seekers that you see from the TV show, but I went and I got the BotCon 3-pack of the Rainmakers, and I picked up Acid Storm, and then I happened to be in the Collectors Club for Nacelle and G2 Starscream, so I ended up picking up them as well. That's fairly deep, in my opinion, into it for army building. I don't know that I really want to replace all of them, but I think at this point, because I have the 3 main Seekers in Voyager scale, I'm at the very minimum getting the cone heads in Voyager scale, but then it becomes, what do I do with the rest of my Seekers? Because I've got that BotCon 3-pack, I've got Acid Storm, and then I've got Nacelle, G2 Starscream, and I think a couple of other guys floating around too. I forget who. But if I'm gonna upgrade everything, I can't necessarily display all the guys, because then you've got like the same character model just in 2 different scales, and it's really, really weird.
And then the guy did say those red figures, they are planning on doing like Beast Wars and Prime, and they're not just going to stick to G1. They're actually going to do all the different lines, the generations.
Yeah, so I had missed that little bit of information, which I think is really cool. Because as far as Beast Wars go, at least, we had a couple of characters in Generations, which the Dinobot looked better in the Henkei version, which now goes for stupid money. Cheetor, I thought, was kind of a train wreck.
Rat Trap was the best.
Rat Trap was good. Rat Trap was really good. But some of those characters, we've never gotten like true faithful representations of them, transforming or not.
Right.
And so I'm excited about that. And of course, Prime, that was probably the best series that we've gotten from the whole franchise. So, people are going to lap that up. No question.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Especially like a good Soundwave from that line.
Oh. Yeah, Soundwave.
I don't think I've ever watched a whole episode of Transformers Prime.
Unfortunately, they only have season 1 up on Netflix here in the States. For some reason, the whole series is up in Canada. But yeah, if you ever get a chance to over some period of time, check it out. I wholeheartedly suggest it. It's
I would agree. I have the whole series on DVD, including the movie wrap-up, Beast Hunter series, because that whole series was awesome, and the way they brought it full circle at the end, I really liked that as well.
And it's not like it is not like a kiddie show. Like,
no, it's not.
There is some stuff in there that, when I was watching it going, wait, who are they marketing this towards? Us or kids? Because it got I was like, damn, there's some dark stuff going on here.
Kind of like rewatching Beast Wars now, like when Dinobot sacrifices himself and shit, and you're like, how did I watch this when I was 10?
Yeah, it's like,
One of my favorite facts about Prime that not everybody realizes, the guys who wrote Transformers Prime were the same guys that wrote the Transformers movies.
Okay.
I find that a very interesting fact because one is heralded as one of the pinnacles, Prime, one of the pinnacle of storytelling from Transformers. The other, the movies, are widely regarded as a cinematic nightmare.
Well, I mean, that's two different mediums. If I came to you and told you, if I gave you, I need a story from you, and it's going to be 24 half-hour episodes, so you have 12 hours to tell me a story. And you don't have to write it all right now, but you have to get a good idea going and regularly write me every week. Okay, or if I said, I need a complete story from you, it can only be 3 hours long, and you need to tell the entire story from the history all the way to the conclusion. Not like some movies.
But I think the biggest issue with Transformers movies is that they don't maintain consistency from one to the next.
Right.
Okay, because there's always something that happened in the past that, it changes our future, and that's the same thing over and over and over again.
I'll tell you, what was I don't know, it wasn't critically great, but did either one of you see the newer Judge Dredd movie?
Yes.
The one with Carl Urban?
Yes.
Yes, that was very good.
I think what made that movie so successful, not money-wise, but as a movie, is that it was just a day in the life of Judge Dredd. There wasn't this giant, they didn't spend the first hour wasting it on backstory, and they didn't, you know what I mean? They didn't have to tell, the movie opens up with him already being Judge Dredd and just showing up to a problem, and it's a day in the life of, and it's so refreshing to get a movie like that. That's kind of like with the Transformers. The Transformers movies were always this is the next thing that's going to end the world, and we have to introduce this villain, and we have to go into a giant backstory. It never was it didn't seem like with all the Transformers movie, it never was another movie of just Megatron has figured out a different way to take over the Earth, and he's going to do it. After the first maybe one or two Transformers movie, I felt like Megatron was such a side character.
Yeah, and the first one made sense, and it's Alex Kirkman and Bob Worcey, who Lance is talking about there, who did Prime and the movies. I love that duo because they penned one of my favorite sci-fi shows that was on Fox called Fringe.
Okay, I remember
that. I remember that.
I love that show, and they wrote that one too. It's hard to get mad at them for Revenge of the Fallen though, because that was right during the writer's strike, and Michael Bay penned the first draft of the script, and then Kirkman and Orci were sequestered for a week, saying, "Here's this outline, fix it," and they're like, "Oh, you can't fix Michael Bay's writing."
Sometimes you gotta take chicken shit and make chicken salad out of it. I mean, and people do that all the time.
Does Transformers Prime have a real heavy human influence in it? The first Transformers movie, the first hour was introducing the Transformers and Sam. You know what I mean? So
So-
does Transformers Prime have a heavy human element in it?
You do get a heavy human element in it, but it's not revolving around the humans. It's
Okay.
the more that the humans are there and they're taking part of it. Are there some storylines that go off based on, the human stuff? Yeah, like there's one with Jack where the whole episode is devoted to Jack, but then the next episode would be devoted to RC, and like they balance it out.
They do. Yeah,
So,
it's a very it's
Yeah.
it's balanced. That's
No, that's why I feel like, Beast Wars, I think did so well critically because it was just focused on the Transformers. There wasn't because like the Transformers movies, I feel like, somebody wrote a script, someone that grew up with Transformers, they wrote basically like a love letter. You know what I mean? Like put a lot of work and passion into it. Then it makes it to like the execs who are like 70-year-old men that they're like, who wants to watch a movie about robots fighting? How come there's no you know what I mean? Someone who's old school Hollywood that's like, no, there needs to be a human that you can root for. And you're like, no, that's not what this is about. This is something different. You know what I mean? Then they're like, no, there has to be a human element to it. So then it's like, all right, now we got to take out what we wrote and rewrite it around having a human in it.
Yeah,
Shia LaBeouf was funny in the movie, and it did pretty good. Like, you know what I mean, to keep you entertained. But it's like the humans were completely unnecessary outside of being like the movie was a human lead, and then the Transformers were the background characters, and it should have been the other way around.
absolutely agree.
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
So when people shit on it, you know what I mean, you gotta here's Mark Wahlberg and his daughter. Like, I don't give a shit.
Listen, he had the most amazing Boston, Texas accent ever.
Right. I mean, I get more time about him fighting with his daughter about her boyfriend than I do about the Dinobots living in a scrapyard and there being baby Dinobots. Like, give me half an hour about that.
Excuse me, his name is Lucky Charms, and
Like, why don't I have like, why are there baby Dinobots? I don't understand. Like, yeah, we're not talking about that. We're talking about this girl's boyfriend. I don't give a shit about him.
that was one of the most cringe-worthy moments of the entire series was him pulling out that age of consent card.
That was actually the most research Michael Bay has done for a movie ever.
Probably. But still, that didn't stop me going, oof, yikes.
Yeah. Can we move on from that? Like that's just
Yep.
bringing it
Yeah.
down.
As far as, we got the leaks there for the new Earthrise stuff, and so that's about it. So I guess we got to get into wrestling here then.
Let's do it.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm just gonna, I still need to go back and watch the match from this week. Lance knows what I'm talking about.
Can you need to leave this podcast right now? Like,
I know I do. What I did do is I finally finished up. I'm gonna start off here and saying I just finally finished up the Taker Last Ride. Documentary series, and I really, really enjoyed it. I guess I don't know. Wade, I guess I don't. I get some of why you hate Michelle McCool so much. I thought as the series went on, it was not as bad. But I don't know. I didn't think she was too terrible of an influence there at the end.
Well, I think the end was more. I need to watch the last two episodes, but I want to say because it's more current, you could interview your AJ Styles, or you could interview your people that he's been. You know what I mean? Like before, when Undertaker's trying to express some sort of feeling that he had from 15 years ago, And then his wife just jumps in. You're like, you shut up. I don't want to hear about you. You know what I mean? Like, I want to hear about the people that were there and lived it.
Yep. No, that's fair. But yeah, it was really, really well done, really good. It's been time for him to hang it up for a while now, and the more and more you watch throughout the series, you kind of kept understanding why he was like, okay, well, all these people went so much longer. So, he kind of got it in his head, all right, maybe I can, not a full schedule, but I can do kind of the part-time thing, like more part-time than the once a year. And it was good to watch.
He's retired, but he just signed a 15-year contract with the WWE. Like, it's not like he's very loyal. It's not like he was going to go anywhere else. So are they just going to have him
Legends contract, though.
What's
that?
They
signed him to a Legends contract specifically to prevent what happened with Ric Flair, right? Ric Flair retired from the WWE when what was one of the best WrestleMania matches ever.
Yes.
Right. Then 6 months later, because Rick needed money, Rick shows up in TNA, and oh god,
he had one match in TNA, and it was a disaster.
The best thing about his return to TNA was when Jay Lethal was impersonating Ric Flair to Ric Flair. That was the absolute best thing about it.
And I get what I'm saying is that, like, even though he's retired, like, it's funny because he's like, Vince is like, all right, well, you're in the Legends contract. We just probably need you like once or twice a year to come in and choke slam somebody. And he's going to be like, how's that been any different from the past 10 years? Do you know what I mean? Like, he's still going to go to Saudi Arabia when the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia says, Vince, here's another $500 million, but I want the Undertaker here. Vince isn't going to say no.
I'm not entirely sure he's going to renew that contract with the Saudis. I mean, that gained a lot of political backlash.
Yeah, but Vince never cared about political backlash as much as he's cared about money.
That's true. Well,
it's true, but I also think he doesn't want that kind of, not to keep using wrestling terms, but I don't think he wants that kind of heat.
We'll see. I guess it all depends on also what Linda's got going on, because I thought a lot of it had to do with Linda's current political...
Well, she's currently working for Trump's re-election campaign under the RNC, if I remember correctly.
Okay. Well, so then it doesn't matter what Vince does. So yeah, no, the Legends thing, but the Undertaker, it's time. You know what I mean? And what I feel, I mean, like, even though I don't particularly care for him as a wrestler, the gimmick's cool, but he's got little kids. You know what I mean? Like, it's time. It's time to hang it up. And when he said in the last ride, he wanted to be able to, he got his hip fixed, and he wanted to be able to walk with them, to play with them. You know what I mean? Like, as a father, I can respect that. So it's time to hang it up and be with your kids. Kind of a weird parallel on Netflix right now. There is a 2-part biography on Garth Brooks. They're 2 1.5-hour episodes, and whether or not you're a fan of his or whatnot, like, after him and his wife got a divorce in the late 90s, that's when he retired because he wanted to raise his 3 daughters. You know what I mean? Like, it's, you know what I mean? To give everything up for your kids. Like, Garth Brooks went radio silent for like 10 or 15 years till his last daughter was out of like high school, and then he came back. Like, I can just respect that out of a man, no matter how much I dislike the man.
Yeah.
I felt, I think it was during like because there were 5 episodes, so I think it was the 4th. He was talking about, hang on one second.
And we lost Nate.
No, okay, we're back. Can you hear a ton in the background there?
No, a little bit, nothing bad.
Okay. I felt bad for him a bit in the 4th episode, because he was talking about how, in the beginning, all the way through. I don't know, maybe about the American Badass switch. He protected the character so much. He said like he missed out on a lot of his, youth. He missed a lot of his early life because he was, he didn't go to parties or family events or stuff like that, just to, make sure nobody saw Mark Calloway because he was so invested in protecting the character. And
yeah, like Kane said, he liked being able to take off the mask and not be recognized sitting down at a bar at night eating.
yeah, and it just, because kayfabe died a long time ago, and people knew that these were characters, and so I just felt bad for him that he felt like he missed out on so much of his life because he felt this obligation to protect the character.
Yeah, I can kind of see that. I mean, he definitely embodied that character for years. But yeah, I don't know. I agree with all of you guys. Like, I'm happy that he's retiring. I'm happy that he's spending time with his kids. It just, I think contract-wise, I think it's really to prevent. They do the legend stuff to prevent another Ric Flair. They don't want the Undertaker showing up anywhere else. Ever.
Not that he would. I wouldn't even think that he would. He's been so loyal.
Well, it's funny because if you remember him talking about StarCast, he didn't even realize that StarCast was connected to All In. And he and Kurt were going to do StarCast, and Vince was like, absolutely not. Vince was like, what do I need to do to make sure that you don't do this? And, that's when Taker started to come back again.
And he said that he and Vince had a falling out because of that.
Well, yeah, because I'd imagine Vince would be pissed. But Taker's said he doesn't really follow the business anymore. He didn't know what was going on, and he didn't realize it. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But given how loyal he is to Vince, I would imagine if he knew it was connected to AEW beforehand, I don't think he would have done it.
I think that's very possible. It was just an autograph signing. Like, there was no chance he was ever going to appear at the event. But with him not going, that prevented anyone from coming up to him and saying, "Hey, when your contract's up, you wanna do a couple of appearances with us?"
Or like Cody Rhodes going up and shaking his hand, somebody getting a picture and posting it online. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, like the dirt sheets get going.
People would lose their shit over that.
It's kind of like a cool / douchey thing what you just said, that like he is like the embodiment of like a wrestler protecting. You know what I mean? He's probably one of the oldest tenured ones in the WWE roster right now, but like he doesn't keep up with the product at all. He's like, all the Undertaker's concerned about is the Undertaker. I don't care what all everybody else is doing. Like, yeah, but shouldn't you watch the product to maybe get a feel for what's going on? He's like, I'm good. Like, oh, okay.
And that's kind of the irony of it too, because you get a lot of guys who know not only what's going on with WWE and whatever competition that they have, but in the indies too. Your guys like Jericho, Heyman, like these are all guys in the WWE or formerly in the WWE who would dig down and find that young talent. So it's really interesting to hear somebody in the business who's not, I don't know, Spike Dudley, for instance, just say, yeah, no, I don't pay attention to the business anymore, which is, to me, is really, really weird.
Nice callback to that CVV interview, by the way.
I try.
Yep. Yeah, it does surprise me a little bit too that someone of Taker's stature doesn't, like, just keep an eye out on this next generation, because he touts, liking to pass his knowledge on, but he's not really keeping an eye out of what's going on.
Did we ever get? No, I watched the first 2 or 3 episodes of The Last Ride. Have we ever gotten a straight answer out of anybody why Brock Lesnar was the one that broke the streak?
I mean,
not like what you've heard, not like this is what I think. I'm talking about like has anybody actually just gave it just a straight answer as to this is what our thoughts were?
Not particularly. I mean,
No.
all we know is that it was the decision was made that day. And not even that day, like just momentarily before the match.
Right.
He didn't really address it much. He addressed, and I think we saw, actually that might have been the 4th episode. No, I forget now. But, he talked about how he was concussed halfway through the match and just, doesn't remember any of it. And I think that was also a contributing factor to it ending when it did, because, he didn't know where he was.
I mean, because Brock ended the streak, then a couple years later when Roman Reigns beat him, it just like, if they would have just waited and let Roman Reigns do it, that would have had such an impact, such an oomph. But they were like, it's just to let Brock do it. Like, listen, we all know Brock's legit badass. Why does he need the rub?
Yeah. No, I understand. And I'll tell you what I wish had happened is maybe about not quite 10 years ago, because Taker had a really great run in 2010. So maybe 2014, 2015. I wish he had done that change that he did for the Styles match, because at that point everyone knew who Mark Calloway is,
right?
And to mesh the old Undertaker, the badass Undertaker, and the guy Mark Calloway, like he talked about doing in that Styles match, I think that would have been a perfect way to finish out his career in that persona.
Well, I think that in general in the wrestling world, supernatural gimmicks are probably on their way out. Like Bray Wyatt does all right, and like Finn Balor when he wants to dabble in it. But like you said, to mix it back with the American Badass and make it just a little bit easier, because all I can think about is old ass Undertaker when the lights go out, him trying to roll out from underneath the ring, be in the ring, and then be standing there and like not be winded.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When he's trying to surprise somebody.
So that's what I kept up with this week. And yes, no, I know I missed the amazing match, and I intend to go watch it. Don't you worry about that.
Are we talking about the NXT main event?
Yep.
Well, that's outside of that match, one of the greatest things in wrestling is going to happen, and it's always something I've always been excited about, is when they do a title versus title. Outside of a double count out or something really stupid happening, I've always enjoyed a title versus title, because you're like, all right, someone's losing their strap.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I 100% agree with you. I'm absolutely 110% looking forward to that title match, which I believe will actually be taking place at NXT's Great American Bash, which will run 2 weeks. Oddly enough, the same 2 weeks that AEW's Fyter Fest is running. But I'm very, very, very excited for that match.
I also do enjoy how Trips is pulling out all the WCW pay-per-views for NXT.
Well, because Cody wants, and it's almost like he's teasing Cody with them. He's like, "All right, Cody, if we're gonna do this Wednesday Night War thing, not only am I gonna do it, but I'm gonna pull out all the shit that you want and use it against you."
I don't know how long it's going to take. I don't think AEW right now is still like super popular and still fresh. but I don't know how long it's going to take them to level off. Like, I see Cody Rhodes back in the WWE, even for the Hall of Fame. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know why. I don't see Goldust not being in the WWE Hall of Fame. Like, it would be a travesty.
No, they're going to be in the Hall of Fame at some point. As far as where things are going right now, like the last week was the first week that NXT beat AEW in the ratings.
Yes.
And a lot of it had to do especially with that main event. And they didn't just beat AEW by a little bit. Like, they put a hurting on AEW by, I think, 150,000 viewers. That being said, I think that the actual rating came in somewhere around 780,000 viewers consistently. So I think we're starting to see that point where both NXT and AEW are leveling off right now, because AEW, when it first came in, was hitting a mark of like 1 million, 1.2 million, and now we're back down to like 700 to 800,000.
Right.
So I think the answer is this is where we're at. I think, and this will probably be about where it stays.
And you know what though? And I'm still waiting. Like, now I get it. Dean Ambrose was a good grab, but I still feel like AEW has not gotten like that. Yeah, and the legend contracts are the blame, but AEW has not gotten that like holy shit gotcha grab. They've gotten a couple like mid carders. You know what I mean? I just want to see.
Is Jericho a mid carder? He was
Jericho
their
was
champion
not
for a
Jericho
solid
was not
year.
No, Jericho was not taken from WWE though. Jericho was disenfranchised mad. Jericho was in between one of his. He comes back for a couple years, then leaves for a couple years, and he liked what AEW had going on, so he decided to give it a try. What I'm saying is that, like, you know, I'm waiting for that whole like Bret Hart screwed jumps over the Hulk Hogan screwed and jump. You know, kind of like I'm waiting for a big giant shitstorm contract dispute for somebody to go over there.
I don't know that you're going to get that. I think the closest that you've got to that right now is, or the closest that you're going to get to it is what happened with FTR, right? FTR, WWE went to renegotiate with FTR. They're like, here's what we have planned for the future for you. And FTR was like, no, this is shit. They had already hit their downside guarantee, so they weren't really getting anything. And they stopped getting used on shows, and they're like, all right, we're just not going to re-sign. And then they left. They didn't have a no-compete clause because their contract was up. And they just showed up in AEW.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, like, it would just be wild to see, like, see your Braun Strowman. Because, like, right now, like, the WWE likes Braun Strowman. They don't love Braun Strowman. They're using him as a transitional champion currently. You know, I think they're using him as a transitional champion until the live crowds are back, and then they're probably going to use him to put the belt back on Wyatt or somebody. I'm saying
I think the belt's going back on Wyatt sooner than that.
No, but I'm saying, like, if he were to show up, like, it would be a big getcha gotch. You know what I mean? Like, it would be huge.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I'm trying. I think of the AEW roster, and you know, they've got lots of good former WWE talent on there already. Other than Jericho, is there anybody that's held a WWE world title? And I think the answer to that is no, because I don't think Goldust has ever held it. Ambrose, yeah, that's true.
Or
so you've got Ambrose / Moxley is the only other one, and then I don't know. I think Luke Harper was a big get for them. Is that the get? No, but I think that's more of like, I view him more of like the Scott Hall and Kevin Nash WCW get before they get Hogan.
I wholeheartedly agree with that comparison, because Harper, or Jonathan, whatever his actual last name is, he is, if you've ever watched interviews with him, he is such a cool, likable guy. and WWE just never let him do his thing on a solo run. It was always, oh, okay, we're just gonna stick you back with Rowan, and you know.
I think the other thing too is they never let him do all the stuff he's capable of doing. They had him playing typical WWE big man. You don't really leave your feet, and you're pretty much on doing the power game.
Because what does Vince like?
Vince McMahon loves big sweaty man. Vince McMahon loves big sweaty man. But
Exactly.
besides the point, like, I think that if they had let him kind of wrestle his style as opposed to making him wrestle the WWE style, they probably would have gotten more out of him. Because if you look at him now as Brody Lee, you know, the wonderful, hilarious parody of Vince McMahon that he is aside, when he's in the ring, he's so much more of a dynamic performer than he was when he was in WWE. You see a lot more. You see him, you know, flying through the ropes. You see him coming off the top. You see submission game. You see all these different facets to his game that if you just watch him or just ever experienced him in WWE, you didn't really see all of this other stuff. And I'm personally, Brody Lee is probably one of my favorites that have come over and changed their style.
I mean, probably like, I guess I'm thinking of like, you know, right now how Roman Reigns is kind of in Vince's not good graces because he decided to dip out because of the coronavirus. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think he's not in Vince's good graces. I understand people are like, oh, he has heat, but I don't, it's very hard for me to believe that somebody with Roman's reputation actually has heat. Like, I cannot being frustrated, but I don't think Vince mad at him and going like, when Roman comes back, we're gonna get more dog food being poured on him skits and shit.
but I just mean like something where Roman would be disenfranchised by all this. You know what I mean? And then he ends up he just shows up at AEW and it would just be wild.
Yeah, I think that would be the Hogan level take. Who was it?
Him or Rollins.
I was listening to somebody, and I forget who, but they said that they would love to have Roman Reigns in AEW. Like, if WWE closed and they had to choose one wrestler, it would be Roman Reigns. And I want to say it was actually, there was a couple people that said it. I want to say Cody, JR, and Jericho. I want to say.
I think JR is a pretty good get though for not being a wrestling talent. JR was a great get for AEW.
You know, in listening to their commentary, because I do watch them weekly, and honestly, my favorite combination of announcers that they have, the ones that are, it's Excalibur and Taz. They've got Shivani, they've got Excalibur. So on their regular broadcast, it's JR, Tony Schiavone, and Excalibur. And I've got to say, Excalibur is fan-friggin-tastic.
That's the guy in the mask?
Yeah, that's the guy in the mask. Tony Schiavone, obviously the former play-by-play guy from WCW. But it's really weird because Ross or JR and Schiavone are two play-by-play guys, and Excalibur is supposed to be the color guy, but it's kind of more like they've switched it up where JR and Schiavone are the color guys, and Excalibur is generally more of the play-by-play guy. It's just a weird, different dynamic to hear JR in, and that's not like, I'm not gonna like harp on him for some of the stuff that happened previously where he like wasn't familiar with wrestlers' names and stuff like that. I think that is as good of a get, and I think it's a really good get for them creatively. I don't think JR is really helping them in commentary at all. I think he's helping train people, but just listening to them day in and day out, each week, I think that really the biggest get for them on the announce team is Excalibur. I think he's been fantastic since day one.
Where was he from?
He came from PWG out in California. So they're a small indie promotion. They could be televised, but they're not televised because the owner doesn't want to go through making it televised and all the hoopla that goes with it. But they've had the Bucks go through there. That's where the Bucks started to come up through. They've had Adam Cole in there as champion, Keith Lee as champion, Matt Riddle as champion. Basically, for the last 10 years, the PWG has been like a who's who for the indie guys. Like, you go to PWG, and if you can make it in PWG, like, you make it anywhere, and you can not necessarily write your own ticket, but you've got one hell of a reputation behind you.
Speaking of Matt Riddle, do we all feel like he's going to get canceled here pretty soon? He got accused with everybody else of being a...
Oh, yeah.
I think his situation is a little bit different than some.
That's also a thing that we haven't addressed at all.
This is true.
Does
it happen?
This big movement, and who were because there was one or two female wrestlers who really spearheaded this thing, and I forget who that was again.
So it started. I don't remember who exactly spearheaded it, but I know it started in what the British call BritWres, right? The British wrestling community. So it started out with a number of female wrestlers and former female wrestlers and current female wrestlers making accusations against a number of British wrestlers for sexual harassment, what's called grooming, and other forced sexual behaviors and stuff like that. And it really started to blow up over there, and then it started to come into the U.S. So right now you've got, I think the first one that I heard that was big over there was, I think his name is Bart Starr, and I might be wrong on the first one, but he was a champion in 3 different promotions. Each of those 3 promotions stripped him of the titles. It also involves Jordan Devlin, who was stripped of his one of his tag title with whatever promotion he was in. El Ligero, Will Ospreay, and then it jumped over to the U.S. So Joey Ryan, Matt Riddle. There have been a number of Jack Gallagher. There have been a number of people across the industry. Who was the one in AEW that I'm thinking of? Jimmy Havoc. Also, and it's been interesting to see how things have been handled by different companies, even with different wrestlers. So WWE, for instance, right? They have this policy that they've had in place since before Enzo Amore, right? Because he was the last person fired from WWE for all of this, where WWE wants to know if there's something out there. So my understanding is that the reason Jordan Devlin is still there and Matt Riddle is still there is they've already gone to WWE. They've talked to WWE about it. They've made WWE aware of it. And in Matt Riddle's case, he had legal action written up by his legal team previously, but it was not acted upon.
Doesn't he have like a a stay order from that girl or something like that, where she stalked him and his family or something like that?
Yeah, they wrote up. They didn't file it, but they had written up back in 2018 or maybe earlier in 2019 a what's it called?
PPO?
I'm sorry?
Personal protection order, PPO? You know what I mean? You got to stay within, stay about at least 50 feet away or whatever.
Yep. Yeah. So they had written up a restraining order or PPO, but they had not taken action on it. In Jordan Devlin's case, I believe he had let WWE know about the allegations because he was contacted about them previously. He went right to them. In El Ligero, I haven't heard that El Ligero's been let go yet. So I don't know what's going on with him, but the other one was Jack Gallagher. Jack Gallagher was accused of rape by two different women as far back as 2014, and WWE just let him go. So it's interesting to see how different companies handle it. Jimmy Havoc was accused of emotional, physical, and sexual abuse by his longtime ex-girlfriend. She claimed that it happened over the span of 3 years, and AEW hasn't let him go yet, but they've given him a suspension, and he's undergoing treatment, so psychological treatment for all the stuff that he's done, as well as alcohol abuse. And then Joey Ryan, for instance, was let go from Impact Wrestling, and he shut down all the social media accounts for his own promotion, Bar Wrestling. Michael Elgin, who wrestles for Impact, was suspended from Impact Wrestling indefinitely, and he was supposed to be competing for their heavyweight championship in, I believe it was a fatal four-way with two other guys and current heavyweight champion, former heavyweight champion Tessa Blanchard, who got stripped of the title. That's something else that we'll get into in a bit. So focusing on just the hashtag speaking out movement, it looks like that it's basically gone global. Some male wrestlers have even come out and shared their stories of abuse at the hands of female wrestlers. TJP, he told a story about him being sexually assaulted basically when he was 15 by two older wrestlers, female wrestlers that he trained with, who were 20 and 21 at the time. And then who was the other one that came out? It was TJP and a guy that used to wrestle in OVW for WWE, who accused Jim Cornette and his wife of a grooming plot, which is what the Fabulous Moolah used to do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he got accused of that, and his wife got accused of that, and he's like, when I told her no, she flipped out and made sure that it said she'd make sure I'd never work in wrestling again. Because I guess according to that particular person and those allegations, the wife was the one who chose who she wanted them to quote unquote groom, and then Jim would sometimes watch. So yeah, there's all kinds of shit out there.
That's messed up.
All kinds.
I was bummed to hear about Joey Ryan. I was hoping we were going to see him pop up in AEW or something in the near future. Of course, all the comments I've been reading, it's like, well, with someone with a gimmick called the King of Dong Style, what did you expect?
Yeah, right. He was the only wrestler that was sponsored by YouPorn or Pornhub at one point, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, if wrestling is your personality turned up to 11, there you go.
Yeah, maybe that was in poor taste now looking back, but hindsight's 2020.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then also
I'm not gonna lie. I enjoyed the living hell out of almost every Joey Ryan match that I watched once he started doing the dong flip, or the dick flip. Like, it was fantastic. Him and Hangman Page at All In, that was just incredible. Or well, it was Hangman Page and Joey Janela. But then to have Joey Ryan come back and Hangman Page get carried out by the penis druids.
yeah, and then you said something about then the worst one all of them was Tessa Blanchard. Like all we want you to do is videotape some promos to send to us. She just gave him the big old double bird.
So if we want to transition to that one now, so Tessa Blanchard got stripped and fired, stripped of the Impact World Heavyweight World Championship and fired from Impact Wrestling. From what I hear, yeah. So it was a little bit more than just promos. So one, she's down in Mexico right now, right?
Yeah, with the boyfriend, right?
With her boyfriend at her condo that she lives at or whatever. And so while she's down there, she hasn't really talked to anybody or anything like that. And I guess, so last year when they put the belt on her, a couple of days before they put the belt on her, they came out that she may have used a racial slur in a locker room in New Japan. In a demeaning way, obviously. I don't think there's another way that you can use one, but in a demeaning way towards an African-American wrestler in the women's locker room. Impact stuck with her through that. And now that we're here in this particular day and age, yeah, she's just not doing the promos. She's not doing other things. And I guess she actually, because I don't read the dirt sheets, but I guess she actually has a track record of having episodes where she is excitable, we'll say. Including one where, and this is before she was in the Mae Young Classic the last time they held it, was it 2018, 2019 was the last Mae Young Classic?
I'd say 17 or 18. It feels like it's been a little while.
Yeah, it's been a while. So before the last Mae Young Classic, she actually showed up completely unannounced at the WWE Performance Center because she felt the need to confront her then ex-boyfriend Ricochet.
I totally forgot that they were a thing at one point.
They were a thing at one point. So from what I understand, they actually had to have security remove her from the premises. And then when she was there for the Mae Young Classic, from all accounts said, she did a really good job in the ring, but there was something about her that rubbed everybody the wrong way, and that's why she didn't get signed by the WWE. Because I have to imagine, if the WWE brought her in for the Mae Young Classic, they signed almost everybody that competed in the Mae Young Classic. If they could have signed Tessa Blanchard and rolled her out there with Charlotte Flair and basically have the foundation of the new Four Horsewomen off of the original Four Horsemen, they would have jumped on that like a pig on shit. But yeah, I guess there's a lot of just general, from what I hear, it's rumor, but I guess there are a lot of instances where she is just not the coolest head in the room, cool heads prevail.
Mm-hmm.
She's not a cool head, and she makes some very impulsive decisions without thinking. Um, and from since nobody's really heard from her, I guess we chalk this up to that. But it's amazing to me to think that if you're a company's world champion, that you just stop showing up.
That you're like not only the company's world champion, but like you're a female that's holding a pretty prestigious belt that's normally designated for men. Like you're getting a huge rub out of that. Like, I guess it's one of those, like, I guess she just, everything you talk about, like, she just feels like she's so entitled.
I don't know if it's entitled. I don't know if she feels entitled or if it's just that she's a very impulsive decision maker and goes off of whatever she feels, right? Because I think you can make decisions emotionally and not necessarily feel entitled, as opposed to making a decision because you're entitled. Like, I think it's a snap, spur of the moment decision thing is more than it's a, well, I'm this person, so I'm gonna get treated this way. And from what I understand, it's not really going to have anything to do with, say, her being the daughter of Tully, which is another thing, because she and Tully don't have a great relationship, from my understanding. And it didn't necessarily get better when she got in the business because he didn't want her in the business. She started training and she did not tell him for the first, I think it was like year or something like that, if I remember that CVV interview correctly. But her trainer, who knew Tully, eventually came to her and was like, look, I'm not going to keep training you if you don't go and tell Tully. And that's how she had to go and tell Tully. So I don't think it's a very, very warm relationship there. So I don't know that she would have, say, the Charlotte Flair genetically superior-esque attitude.
No. I'm saying that Tessa Blanchard's real life personality is Charlotte Flair's character on TV.
Right, but what I'm saying is I don't think that's necessarily the case because she does not get along with Tully at all.
I mean that's a daughter father thing. It's just, like your shit doesn't stink. I also saw, I wanted to touch with you guys. I saw on the dirt sheets, just a real quick thing, that the WWE is thinking about letting Velveteen Dream go.
I have not heard that.
Well, here's another thing that came up because I didn't hear about it either. Apparently, the Dream is in some legal trouble because he was caught attempting to solicit underage girls for sex.
What? Why would?
I don't know.
Yeah, they said he got in some online trouble, some social media trouble, or something silly like that.
Yeah, and that's what it was. Is he was trying to allegedly he was trying to hook up with girls who were underage. Now, are we talking under the age of consent or how old? I don't have the details. I just heard that snippet of it. But yeah, so we'll have to keep an eye on that because Velveteen could be gone, and that would be very poor decision making on his part if that's true.
Yeah, and we're sure. Dumb question. But we're sure it was done like knowingly, or was sort of thing where like talking with somebody never asked for an ID or type thing.
I don't have any further details other than it's an ongoing investigation. I don't know. Wade, did the dirt sheets give anything else?
No, it just was a real quick like I'm looking at the Bleacher Report right now, and it doesn't even say anything about it. This was just a real quick thing I read Maybe it came up on Facebook or something like that, but it wasn't shit.
Yeah, when I was watching What Culture, they just mentioned it very, very quickly and then moved on when they were kind of doing a recap of all the other stuff going on with sexual assault cases and accusations and stuff.
That's disappointing. I mean, I think everybody knew that there was some rather questionable shit that went on in this industry, but
well, I mean, hell, we knew about Moolah.
yeah, exactly. And so if it was happening that long ago, I guess there's no real expectation that things have drastically changed.
That's what's, I guess, in this day and age, I guess like Fabulous Moolah did it where like everybody was not connected. Everybody was not walking around with a video recorder and a voice recorder in their pocket and all interconnected to everybody all over the world instantly. It's the same thing. The argument I've had about these what's going on in the world today. Like, I don't know why anybody's doing anything dumb because everybody's being recorded all the time.
To quote Will Smith, racism hasn't gone away, it's just being filmed.
Right, and that's what I'm saying.
That's the exact same thing.
The level of stupidity, like, hey, dummy, like, you're doing something that can be screenshotted or sent out to everybody right now. Like, maybe, I'm not saying I agree with anybody's behavior. Like, maybe you should quit the shitty behavior, but I'm saying, like, maybe you should not be really dumb and let people record it for you. Oh, God. I want to tell you guys real quick. Rhino bought, where I live, Rhino bought a boat slip, a boat dock, and he, like, runs it. He rents out the docks to people, and he's running for like trustee or council in my city.
Yeah, so
isn't that the second time he's run for public office?
Is that what?
Isn't that the second time that he's run for public office?
I'm not sure, but it's just my little tiny town, and they're saying on Facebook, if you pledge your support or whatever, he'll bring a sign to your house.
No. So Lance, it's not the second time. In his, I'm 99% on this, but in his CVV interview, where he was holding it at that marina that he bought, he was talking with him about possibly running for some sort of office, local position in his town. He never really specified what he wanted to do, but yeah, no, he was addressing it with Chris that he was thinking about doing some sort of local office.
But yeah, okay. that boat slip is 2 exits down the freeway from me, so a 5-minute drive.
Nice. I would, however, just in general, take a look into what his stance on things are before you just like jump and vote for him.
Oh, absolutely. It's not something but it's just funny though that it's we have a wrestling podcast and that he just is in my atmosphere or in my orbit every once in a while, and you're like, Rhino, you're so funny.
Yeah, nothing like that happens. Exciting like that happens up where I am.
Nope. No big time wrestlers taking office here. Yeah, hey, if not that it would ever happen, but if Trips ever decides to retire here in Match Vegas and runs for something, I'd probably vote for him.
He Rhino he used to live up near Detroit. I don't know if he still does or not, but he did. And there was a bar I was at with one of my buddies years ago, maybe 2007. And me and him, my buddy Casey, were at this bar, and I see like Rhino walk in, and he walks through the bar, and he goes out to the patio, and he's out on the patio by himself, like eating a steak. So I tell him, like, my buddy Casey, I was like, buddy, that looks like the wrestler Rhino. And he's like, I don't know who that is. And I was like, all right. So I pull it up on the phone. I'm like, him. And he goes, I don't know if that's him or not. So the waitress comes over, and the waitress like, oh, that's absolutely him. And I was like, oh, like I started fangirling out. And she's like, listen, let him eat, give him some space, like let him eat in peace. And then when he's done eating, she was his waitress too. He'll let you come out. So like, I went out there and talked to him for a minute, and got to take a picture with him, shake his hand, everything's cool. Well, SmackDown happened to be at the same time, and I don't know if he called in some buddies. I go back and I'm sitting at the booth with my buddy Casey. His sister's band was playing or whatever there. Here comes like Matt Stryker, Hornswoggle, Great Khali. Well, what was the Irish guy? It was Hornswoggle's guy.
Oh,
Finley.
Yeah, Finley.
Finley. I'm talking tenor. I was like, what the fuck? Like in the bar with me were these like 15 wrestlers. I think maybe like Goldust was with them. Just was one of those. I was like, get the fuck out of here. This is awesome. But like, of course, I felt like I don't want to be disrespectful and go bother them. So I just sat from afar with like a Joe in the headlights look.
A longing gaze in your eye.
Right. Listen, Great Khali had a bottle of beer in his hand, and it looked like you or me holding a can.
Oh.
I think the only place where that can happen around here is going to be down at Kowloon on Route 1 in Saugus. Because after every Boston show, a ton of the WWE wrestlers go to Kowloon.
Okay.
Yeah, I probably would have freaked out the most over Goldust. I have to imagine if you ever had the chance to just sit down and just talk with him, like the stories he could tell you, just growing up with Dusty and the amount of stuff he could tell you, I feel like it would be amazing.
So now, if I can log back into my MySpace.
Oh. So I mean, Lance, if I'm still gonna watch it anyway, but if you want to go into details on that NXT triple threat, by all means.
Nope, I'm not going into details on the triple threat. The reason I'm not going into details on the triple threat is because I don't want to ruin it for you. It was everything you wanted it to be.
I would expect nothing less from those three.
Do you already know who won, or have you been in isolation from that?
I've been fairly isolated from that because I didn't really keep up this week. I've been binging on the Undertaker stuff, and I'm doing. I'll tell you what I've been doing is I'm doing my second playthrough of Mass Effect right now, and it's my goal to just completely 100% it, and when you do that, that takes up a lot of time.
Fair, that's true. It does. So I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna go into detail about anything. I will say that match was excellent. That was a big reason for the ratings boost. So the final segment of NXT for the second week in a row crushed the final segment of AEW. And goddamn, they started introducing people for that match at about 9:20, and I honestly thought we might get like a 40-minute match. It was like, it ended up being closer to a 25-minute match. 25 to 30-minute match by the time it was done, but hot damn, everything.
And
just
the
all of
one good thing about waiting to watch it is now I can go in and there'll be no commercials, no nothing. I could just take it in.
I mean, you can do that the next day on Hulu.
Yes, I could have. Yep.
I'm just saying, but yeah, that I cannot. I'm not going to go into, like I said, I'm not going to go into too much detail because I don't want to give too much away. Goddamn, that match. Yeah, it was good. But that's not to say the rest of the card wasn't good. Was the rest of the card on par with that match? Well, no, because you legitimately have three of the best wrestlers in the world going at it.
Mhm.
But the rest of NXT, I personally wouldn't have skipped. It was really, really, really good overall. Granted, they didn't have a whole ton of it was mostly storyline stuff. It wasn't anything where like it was changing the landscape or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it was still really good. I was trying to find on Bleacher Report the update, but just a couple of things that I saw while I was scrolling through Bleacher Report. Number one, El Ligero is reportedly been released by WWE UK, and we might have a potential reason as to why Tessa Blanchard left Impact the way that she did, in terms of attitude problems. So it appears that on the heels of her being released by Impact, it's being reported that Tessa Blanchard is actively in talks with WWE.
All right. I mean, I think it would be great to see her in WWE. As long as she doesn't do too much shit to my girl Casey, it's all that matters.
I'm really curious to see if this is going to end up being the first bidding war between AEW and WWE. And the reason I say that is because in watching a number of interviews with Cody Rhodes, somebody had asked him on an Inside the Ropes interview if he doesn't make the decisions for the women's division. That's what Brandy does. But somebody had asked Cody if he could choose one woman to sign, who would it be? And his answer was actually Tessa Blanchard. So I'm curious to see if they go after Tessa, and if there's a bidding war between WWE and AEW over her.
Yeah, we'll see. She might probably be. I don't know. I couldn't attest to her wrestling skills, but I know nowadays, your attitude is a lot. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's if the WWE thinks the comments of you using racial slurs, you know what I mean? Like, that's not something that they're not going to treat lightly. And then also, if you get signed, like, there's like the morality clause or whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? Like, they have no qualms about getting rid of you.
Yeah, and I mean, I would imagine if she goes in there, they would say exactly just that. Like, you've got to keep everything clean, make good decisions, otherwise you're gone.
Yeah, I doubt they'd give her a full 3 strikes.
No, I don't think they would. Like I said, from everything I had heard previously, she according to WWE or according to, the dirt sheets, WWE didn't sign her previously because of quote unquote attitude problems. And I think it's a thing that's worth mentioning is she's still just 24 years old. She's still learning stuff and how to act properly. Like, I can guarantee you, I probably was not the most responsible 24-year-old on the face of the planet. But I think WWE may look at that, and if they are signing her, maybe that's what their mindset is to sign her, is saying, hey, she's got to learn, and we're going to help her learn.
All right. I mean, yeah.
But, I guess only time will tell.
And there's no way I could even sympathize or understand. I mean, yes, you're right in the sense that, there are definitely more mature 24-year-olds out there. I don't particularly remember it that much either. But I just feel like that's super young in the status you're in the business. I guess I'd think you'd have a more willingness to work with people and learn, and I don't know, maybe because she comes from, her family's been in the background, maybe there's like some entitlement issues there.
It could be, but again, from everything I've heard, she does not have a good relationship with Tully, so I don't think she would play that card at all.
No. When I say entitlement, I don't mean like her dad's name. I'm just talking about like it's almost as like an FU to dad, where she's her talent is getting her far, and and people are for the longest time letting her get away with murder. Not any longer. But I don't think I'm not saying like using her dad as a stepping stone, but even that just because they don't get along now doesn't mean that she can't use it as a like on her resume, I guess.
Yeah,
it's fair. I don't know. The next couple of weeks are going to be interesting to see what happens with this whole allegation situation. These various people, Dream, Tessa, see just what happens. It'll be fascinating.
Not to mention also the fallout from WWE's testing.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. That's another thing actually we could touch on real quick is how many people was it who tested
24.
positive? There were. How many again?
24.
24. Okay. So, yeah. So the fact that there was that many, I mean, that's not necessarily a small number that tested positive. I'm surprised that somebody hasn't come in and gone, okay, we're done for a little bit.
Right.
Well, I'm not, because it's Vince, right? Vince is the ultimate show must go on guy. I can see them keep on going, just taking different precautions, and I think you saw that a little bit in SmackDown this Friday, where previously they told people don't wear masks because we don't want to have masks on TV. But if you looked at the crowd at Friday Night SmackDown, you saw a good number of people with masks. So I think they're reversing course on that. It's unfortunate because it's too late. And the other thing that happened too is not everybody who has tested positive has come out and said, hey, it's me, and WWE isn't releasing who's testing positive because of HIPAA. But we know Renee Young is one of those people that tested positive. 2 weeks ago, she was in the ring with Braun Strowman. She was also in the ring with Jeff Hardy. And then she went home to her home in Las Vegas with one Jon Moxley, and now at Fyter Fest, we're not so sure that Mox is going to be defending the AEW title.
Got quote unquote suspended from AEW TV or whatever. I mean, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, he's being kept off. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, this is just one of those situations where it's had an effect just outside of WWE, and we'll see how this all plays out. But I don't see WWE stopping anything anytime soon, and I don't see the state coming in there because it's Florida, and as we know, Florida's not like the rest of us, and DeSantis. His response to Florida having an uptick in being one of those 20 states where things are increasing, his response was to, just close the bars. So, I don't know. I guess we'll see.
I'm just ready for things to go back to normal, guys. Let's just...
Amen. Amen to that.
I think everybody is.
Unfortunately, so I don't know if you caught of Chris Labrador's messages earlier today, Wade, but they are once again closing bars in his county. So I'm just afraid we're going to start slipping backwards again.
No, I mean, it's going to happen. You know what I mean? You open stuff up, and the first thing people do is go buck wild. You know, they're like, all right, guys, let's just ease back into it. And people are like, we don't know how to go slow.
Yep, pretty much. All right. So I think that's all we got for tonight. Anything anyone else wants to add?
No, sir.
No, I think I'm good.
All right. So, next week, very first thing we're going to do before anything is talk about that match.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the match.
Wait.
Yeah,
say what you said again?
Nothing.
Huh?
Did I say anything? Nah.
What did you say? What did you hear?
I thought he said something like strip down or something like that, but I mean, not that I'm opposed to it, especially if we turn on the cameras.
Except that OnlyFans stream go only like live only fan stream.
Yeah,
exactly.
Gonna charge $30 a month. You can watch all the Bears all the time.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and on that note, usual spiel here. This is being posted to YouTube for right now, so we are beholden to the YouTube gods. If you like what you're hearing, please drop the video a like, leave a comment, let us know what you like, what you didn't. Tell us if you even noticed if Dustin was gone this week.
Wow.
I'm just kidding, Dustin. You know I love you so much. So yes, leave the video a like. Just give us a subscription if you like it, and that's that. So for the BTW podcast, I'm Nate Gleason, joined with Lance Johnson.
See ya.
Wade Fry.
Well, bye.
We will talk to you guys next week.